What's going on, guys? It's Jared from DesignsAcademy. I'm also known as Dreamers, and today I'm bringing you my first tutorial to the channel. I'm super excited, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about Twitch overlays and stream layouts. I already know there was a tutorial that was posted on the channel before this new 2017 update, and it went over a Twitch overlay, but I'm going to go back and talk about this new style and a different way of going about your Twitch overlays and such. So here's an example. This is kind of what we're going to be going for today. I whipped this up earlier, and yeah, let's jump right in. So I'm going to start by creating a new document, and I'm going to make it 1920 by 1080 pixels with a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Make sure it's RGB color, and everything else doesn't really matter. So I like to start with a darker gray background. It's just one of the things I do. It's a lot easier on my eyes. Otherwise, I guess you can work on white if you'd like to. And I'm going to set up my guidelines. You can do this by pressing Control R, and that brings up your rulers. You can right click on those and set them to percent, so you can get that nice 50-50. Oops, if I didn't drag the window. That nice 50-50. And I usually put them on the edges of the canvas as well. I might have to change the color here because I can't really tell it from the actual Photoshop background. That's about right. And if you're making this for your stream or your videos or whatever, I often suggest that you use a screenshot of whatever game you're going to be playing or whatever game you're going to be using it to overlay. So I'm going to grab a screenshot that I found online of Overwatch. It's just my favorite game, and I'm going to rasterize that layer after I drag it in, and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Black and White, so we don't need all that color. Convert it back to a smart object. It's kind of unnecessary, but I like to do it. And I'm just going to turn the opacity down, just so it's kind of visible, but not taking up all your screen. So I suggest doing this just because of the fact that you want to make sure you're not blocking any on-screen elements. So this stuff, the heads-up display, you know, whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm gonna name this overlay bar, and that's gonna be like this this bottom bar here. I'm actually gonna cut this into 4 pieces. I'm gonna start in the middle with my polygonal selection tool, polygonal lasso tool, same thing. I'm going to start from the middle, and I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to drag it out in a straight line, however far you want. This is about good. And then I'm going to hold shift, continue to hold shift, and I'm going to go down this 45-degree angle just about here, and I'm going to drag it back into the middle, and I'm going to close that off. Actually, it might be a little bit short, so do that again, but it's the same idea. And I'm going to paint that white. Now I'm just going to push it up just a little bit. Actually, just a little bit. And then I'm going to duplicate it by holding Alt and Shift just to keep it in a straight line. Edit, transform, and flip vertical. And then I'm just going to drag those together and push it up 1 pixel so it matches up. And I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to hold Shift on both of these, and I'm going to merge them together by pressing Control and E on my keyboard. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to copy it across and go to Edit, Transform, and flip it horizontally. Drag it together there. Alright. Let's get rid of the copy at the end there. One thing I suggest you get into the habit of is naming your layers every time, just because you don't want to be that guy who sends your PSDs to clients and they're just checking off the layers every time just to figure out what's on it. So just one little thing. Alright, so I'm going to make another new layer, and I'm going to clip it onto the overlay bar, and I'm going to call this gradient, and I'm going to go to my paint bucket, hold it down, and go to the gradient tool. And here I'm going to make a nice little gradient that I can use. I already made this one earlier, but we'll make a new one. So I'm going to go down here, and so we can go with a blue overlay. So I'm going to get this nice blue up here, start with a darker color. I'm going to go back up here, get maybe a little bit lighter, and then in the middle Go back up here again and get a lighter color, even lighter color, closer to white. Just that, and then you can drag these out by holding Control and clicking on them if you'd like to. Just kind of makes a little thing, or you can just move these points around. But we're gonna go with that for now, and I'm gonna just drag that onto my overlay. I just put it straight up, holding Shift, and there's that. So now I'm gonna double click on my overlay bar, and I'm gonna go to my blending options. Here I'm gonna add a gradient overlay, and I'm gonna keep it black on both sides, and we're gonna put a white in the middle, and I'm gonna hold Control and drag these 2 points out just a little bit so you can bring these in. So maybe dim this down just a little bit. There you go. Press OK, and I'm gonna set this to overlay so you get that nice dark gradient on top. And I'm gonna change the opacity just a little bit, turn it down, maybe around 50 is good. And I'm gonna add an inner glow as well. Keep it white, opacity all the way up to start with, just so you can see what you're working with. Up the choke a little bit, around 5 is okay. And then the size, bump it up to however you think looks good, however much. I'm gonna go with around 25 right now. And then you can either change the color, but I'm gonna keep it white, and I'm gonna set it to overlay. There you go. And then we're just gonna add a drop shadow on top so that it goes on the bar. And oftentimes you're gonna want to put a drop shadow on your stream overlay stuff, just because it's harder to see on stream on top of all games and stuff. So I'm gonna set the angle to a 90. You can hold Shift and just kind of drag it around. Go to 90. I think it does it by 15-degree increments if you do that. So I'm gonna set the size up just a little bit more so you can see it, maybe a little bit of distance. So just go straight down. And we're gonna turn the opacity down around 50-ish. It's okay. Zoom in, make sure everything's all good, and it looks about right. So there's that to start with. Now the next thing I want to do here is I'm gonna add another layer style-ish kind of thing on top of it, but we'll go over that in just a second. So start off by duplicating this overlay bar, holding Alt, and I'm just going to drag it on top. And I'm going to clear the layer style here. I'm going to double click so I can get my blending options, and I'm going to start by adding a bevel and emboss. Personally, I am not a fan of bevel and emboss at all. Actually, we're going to start with a gradient overlay, but yeah, I hate bevel and emboss. Never use it ever, please, but except for here. Here's okay. We're gonna go black to about a grayish, dark gray. That's about right. And then I'm gonna add a color overlay, and that's gonna be white. And I'm gonna turn that down around 60, 65, somewhere around there. Alright, back to bevel and emboss. I don't like this at all, ever. Usually, just doesn't look very good, so you know, just can do whatever with it, but this is one thing I like to do. I'm going to set in a style as an inner bevel. The technique is going to be smooth, and I'm going to turn the depth all the way up to 1000%. Keep the direction as up, and the size is going to be around 2, no soften, and I'm going to uncheck use global light because, you know, I don't want everything to be the same. And I'm going to put the angle around 130-ish, 130, 140, somewhere in between. 135 is what I'm going to use here. And I'm going to change the gloss contour, the preset from linear to ring double. And I'm going to click anti-alias. So you can kind of see, if I zoom in a little bit, it makes that nice little border around the edges. Alright, so you're going to double click again, just go back, and I'm going to add a inner glow Turn the opacity all the way up so I can see what I'm doing. Choke, it's okay, doesn't matter. Size can go up, and I'm going to set this to linear dodge. Add, so you can turn the choke down a little bit more. Add that, and I'm going to add an inner shadow as well. Opacity, I'm going to put it all the way up so I can see. Again, distance, probably about there is good, just a little bit, probably around 5 to 10 is okay. Size, just to soften it out, and the opacity can go down just a little bit as well. I'm gonna go back actually. What I want to do here, I think the gradient overlay is just a little bit too dark. Oh, actually, this is what I forgot. Bevel and emboss, you're gonna want to add a contour on top of that. Forgot about that. The contour is just gonna stay linear, anti-aliased, and size, you just keep it default, but 61, so I'm gonna go with here. And yeah, that's about all you need. So you're gonna this up a little bit. Keep that. Alright. Now that we have this, you're probably gonna want to save this layer style. So you can use the layer. Just click new style. Name it cool layer style. Whatever you want, you know. Okay, and I'm going to convert it to smart object. The reason I want to save that is because I'm going to use it again later. I'm not going to go ahead and remake it every time. So, you know, here's our layer style. We got that. And overlay bar, I'm going to clip that on top of everything else. Set it to overlay. Overlay, soft light, whichever one you think looks better. I'm going to keep it on overlay. Turn the opacity down just a little bit, around 59, 60. So yeah. Next, we're going to add some text. So the font I'm going to be using is Gotham Black. I'm pretty sure it's a free font. Got it for free somewhere. But I'll put the link for that in the description below. Let's go check that out. And I'm going to add a little text. DesignsAcademy. Your name, whatever you want. And I'm going to press Control T and just align that anchor point to the center. And I'm going to hold Alt and Shift so that it stays centered on that anchor point. And I'm just going to size it down, scale it down just a little bit, wee bit. Make it look a little nicer. It's not huge on your overlay. So yeah, and I'm going to apply a layer style to the text. Just going to double click, gradient, overlay. And we use white text here. Gonna just drag that gradient down a little bit. I'm gonna turn the opacity down. I'm gonna add an inner glow. Opacity 100%, choke, 0, size up just a little bit. So we're gonna turn this back up, or we can edit it actually. We're gonna go black to gray, whatever gray you want. I'm using 151, 151, and I'm going to add a white in the middle. Inner can go away for now, and I'm going to turn this down, of course. Bring the inner glow back. Size can go down just a little bit. Turn that down. Or actually, we'll keep that at 100%. And I'm going to go to a drop shadow. And I'm just going to keep everything at 0 except for the size. Keep that. I can turn that down. Alright. I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller probably. About what I want. That's probably good. And yeah. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a texture on top of the bar here. You can just use whatever texture you'd like. Find one offline, drag one out of a pack. I'm just going to use this guy here that I found in a PSD. Rename it to texture. and you can just like scale it to however big you want. Clip it, and I'm just going to erase the edges here. And I'm going to set this overlay, soft light are usually my options that I start with, and then I'll kind of start messing around with other stuff. You know, it could go with screen, that looks okay. Lighten, we'll go, actually we could probably go with hard light or linear light, and then just turn it down a little bit, mess with that opacity just a bit. And I'm gonna add some brushes on top of this as well. They're my soft brush, and I'm gonna just get a nice soft brush, just brush around just a little bit here, set that to overlay, turn that opacity down, and there you go, you have a nice little overlay bar going. Of course you can add the social media like you did here, but just for time's sake I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go to these little pieces on the side. So I'm going to go back to what I did. Actually, I'm going to name this brushes. I'm going to go back earlier, make a little layer underneath the overlay bar, call this like side triangle, and I'm going to just come down. So I'm going to bring a guideline here to the middle so I don't mess this up. Bring it out a little bit, come down on that 45-degree angle here, cut that off, and I'm going to duplicate it down holding Alt, edit, transform, flip vertical, hide the guideline just so I can see that 1 pixel difference, 2 pixels. Ooh, okay, Control E, and I'm going to convert it to a smart object, get rid of that copy. And I'm gonna make this like gray probably, or I can just add like a silver looking gradient here. So we'll go light gray here, light gray here, and go white-ish there. And we'll go drop shadow. Opacity 100, distance 0, and size, turn that up just a little bit. Could even add an inner glow. I'm a fan of the inner glow, just a little bit, in case you couldn't tell. Just keep that normal. And I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna press Control J to duplicate it. Double click, and I'm gonna go to my styles, and I'm gonna use the same one we saved from earlier. Convert that to a smart object, and we'll set that to overlay. And I'm just gonna drag those in just a tad. Now I can duplicate this, holding Alt, dragging it, edit, transform, flip horizontal, and bring it in just a little bit so it matches. So we have this nice bar here, and now I'm just gonna group everything by clicking my top layer, holding shift, clicking the bottom layer, Control and G, that'll group it. We'll name that bar. Next up, we got the cam slot. This is this guy here. And so since most cameras now, webcams use a 16:9 resolution, and this 1920 by 1080 is a 16:9 resolution. So you can just fill a whole new layer with whatever you want. I'm gonna name this cam base. Control T, hold Alt and Shift, and I'm gonna drag it in just a little bit. Make it small. Keep it centered. You could move it to the side, but I usually work with it in the center first, and then I can move it based on wherever I want it to be. So do that. And I'm going to hold Control and click on the thumbnail to select it. And I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Contract by let's say about 12 and that just brings the selection in from there to there. And I'm just going to delete that so we have a nice border here. Can convert this to a smart object. And I can go down to our bar now and I can copy this gradient, or I can just make a new one if we still have it. We do. So just drag that up. And now we can copy the layer style here if we would like to. Paste it onto the cam. I'm actually gonna kill this a little bit. What is it? Making this the inner glow. Turn that down quite a bit. And just adjust it. Whatever you think looks good. So there's that. Actually, we'll keep the drop shadow. It's not too bad. Then I'm going to add my texture. We're pretty much here doing the same thing as the bar, just on like a different little thing, which happens to be the cam box. So I'm just gonna make the texture nice and big to fit that. Naming my layers, gradient, and texture, and then we can add some brushes. So add a new layer, clip it, get a white soft brush, it's gray, brush around just a little bit, make it a little random. Usually I go in a little zigzag pattern, kind of here, 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 maybe one in the middle, you know, and then we can set that to overlay. If I wasn't messing with nothing. Overlay. Take that just a little bit. And here I'm gonna do kind of the same concept as over here. Actually first, brushes, we're gonna copy the cam base up, and we're gonna use the same layer style as earlier as well. Convert that to a smart object, clip it, and we're gonna set that to overlay. Turn it down just a little bit. And I'm gonna name this layer style. Alright. Now I'm gonna add some little stuff on the side. You can start up here, hold shift to get your 45-degree angle, and just come down to the center line. Paint bucket. Put these behind the base, and I'm going to just copy it, edit, transform, flip it vertically, and just make sure it lines up correctly. I'm going to merge those layers together, and we'll name that side piece, spell correctly, and then I'm just going to copy the layer style from down here, paste it. Then just gonna press Ctrl J and duplicate, double click, and I'm gonna use that same layer style as earlier. Pretty much just using this layer style, recycling it, putting it on other stuff, using it, just adjust till you think it looks good. Can actually probably make this stuff a little smaller, but for now, going to, yeah, so just Ctrl T, Alt and Shift. I'm just dragging it down a little bit. And then I'm just gonna select both of these and just drag it across, edit, transform, and flip it horizontally. And then just drag it in. So one last finishing touch here is I am going to grab the new Designs Academy logo that I designed, by the way, and I'm just going to bring it down a little bit, and I'm going to paste the layer style that we used earlier, and I'm just going to align it to the center here and just have it kind of pop out of the border of the camera box, the webcam slot. So there you go, guys. It's a little overlay you can put together kind of quickly, mess around with it, whatever you want. Of course, you can add social links here, maybe recent donations and followers down here underneath the cam or on the bar, even if you wanted to. But yeah, that's been my tutorial. If you guys have any feedback, or if you think I should make this into a series regarding a full Twitch package, leave that down in the comments below. And yeah, it's been Dreamers from Designs Academy, and we'll see you next time.